Obviously late in the Northampton game, Jason was carrying the ball at the middle of the field, and I think he was tackled by Tamana Harrison, where completely accidentally Jason's head collided with Tamana's shoulder. Jason lost consciousness and fell to the floor, remained unconscious for approximately 5 seconds. We saw he was stricken on the floor, and we immediately started to make a move, and our priority at that point is to actually stabilise his head, because the type of incident that causes concussion can also cause neck injury, so actually we want to preserve the neck as quickly as possible. It was quickly apparent that he regained consciousness, and it was quite clear. Neck obviously seemed fine, so we were able to walk him off the field, because at that point it was obviously apparent that he was concussed. If we think that you're locked out, or that you may have been knocked out, or if we have any doubt whatsoever, that's a permanent removal. That's no HIA, we don't require any more information. You're off and you don't come back on. And that takes time to settle. It takes time for that to regulate, and in that process of regulating they get symptoms. And we list those symptoms. There are 22 symptoms we actually look for. In Jason's case, he had all 22 symptoms actually, so every symptom we threw at him he felt to some degree or other, and we grade those symptoms 0 to 6. So although it may not feel like it, initially after the game he had in excess of 100 points, that's 22 symptoms over a 0 to 6 scale. We call it a SCAT form, an adult SCAT form, which is basically how we grade symptoms. That used to be paper-based. We've moved with the times now, and we've put that on an app, and that allows us to monitor Jason's symptoms remotely. We don't need to be there with a pen and paper in front of him, so we can call him and go through our symptoms. Those symptoms typically are headache, nausea, not feeling right, feeling in a fog, excessive fatigue, nervousness, anxiousness. They cover a range of things. The app allows us to monitor those and attach a number to those, but they are subjective, and perhaps even suggesting symptoms can be a problem in itself. So the SCAT system is not perfect. We're aware of that. We're aware that not everybody is zeros on everything, and that's why we do a baseline. So in the summer, or in Jason's case when he arrived in November, we got a feel for what his normal is. He may have had a 1 out of 6 headache as his normal. In fact, that is quite normal to feel something. So we wait till he returns to baseline on those symptoms, which we monitor daily before we start to do anything. And it starts with something as simple as a low aerobic effort, just simply doing something. In this case, a 20-minute bike. Often we have a false start there, and in Jason's case we did. So he became symptom-free for 24 hours, so he got back to his baseline level of zeros in his case, and he started on a bike. But even that, which is barely out of breath, was enough to actually provoke a bit of a headache. In Jason's case, he became symptomatic at every stage at least once, because it was quite a serious concussion really in that sense. Symptomatic on the bike, then symptomatic even with something as easy as cognitive skills, which is the next stage. The important thing is that it does challenging at a stage, because you could come through the process, sneak through the process, sub-threshold, not be challenged and return to rugby. That's not what we want. If we wanted a player to get through the process without being challenged, we could do that. The player's at the centre of this. We wanted to find out if he was right. So we challenged him cognitively at that skill stage. The weight stage, the resistance stage, is often the one that would become symptomatic, and that was the hardest one really for Jason. So symptomatic twice on that stage, where we had to take some rest between bouts. Once they get past that, typically, because that's so exertive, they're generally fine. The biggest risk factor for that then therefore is contact, and that's the latest stage. Came through that fine. Does a cognitive test at the end of that, we call it CogSport, which again is based off baseline. If he passes that, he's back in.